What's going on, everybody? I hope that you're having a good day. It is time for the top five intermediate. And yeah, this has been an awful week, and I'm going to apologize for the quality of this video. But to be honest with you, you guys are lucky that I got a video out at all. Um, so prior to me buying that God tier computer, this was what I was operating on. And for 2 years, I barely kept this thing going. It crashes constantly. This thing is on its last leg, okay? So just for me to get this top five out for you guys this week, I've got over 20 hours because this thing crashes so much and it's dying. So before I got that PC, I was at the point where I had to make that decision and say, all right, either I am going to just completely stop making content or I have to get a new PC. So we got the new PC, and on Tuesday, it decided that it wanted to commit suicide and shit its pants. So now I've got it shipping across the country. It's going to be a minimum of a month because it has to cross this country twice, and plus the time that they have to repair it. Best case scenario, I will have it back in a month. Worst case scenario, it could be fall. We're going to find out. I have always supported Skytech. Their products are really good, and it wasn't any fault of theirs or anything. It's not like that. The build quality was phenomenal, but we're going to find out how good their warranty is because I've got a 4-year warranty and there's been no modifications done to this thing, so it should go pretty smooth. But anyway, I am kind of foobarred right now, and we're lucky that we got a top five at all this week. It's been a hell of a struggle, but I did want to show this best build that I found. And as far as gaming and stuff like that, it's going to be extremely minimal for me, guys, because this thing is just an absolute turd now. We'll see how it goes. If this thing craps out on us, I'm not going to be doing the top five, that's for sure. So let's get to it. All right, so first up, we've got Baker Boy 76, and you guys need to pay really, really close attention to this build. This is one fantastically immersive build. This shack definitely belongs where it's at here in Toxic Valley, or as some may say, the Cocaine Valley. But fantastic job with the immersion on it. You can see that the roof heights are different. There is a lot going on, so pay attention to the details.
Yeah, if you look at this actual structure, it's 3 foundations wide, and he still has that roof pointed in the middle. So what he's done is he's got 2 sets of roofs that are very fleshly placed together in order to have them meet in that middle foundation.
Yeah, I really love this build. Now, obviously, you guys, we watch these videos repeatedly. By the time that I get done editing, I've watched some of these things 4 or 5 times before I sit down with whoever the judge is, like Cowan. So I get to notice all that detail work and the different textures and all the layers that they've added to the structure. And, that's one thing that I love about having another judge check it out is because of that. I mean, there's still, even that many times me watching this stuff, sometimes I miss things too.
And anyone who's doing scrappy builds, this is a really big element of texture. Look at how he's merged in these walls into each other to make it look truly makeshift. You have this combination of rusted metal, wood, some semi-clean metal. It looks really, really weird when you're building it and it's not decorated yet. But then as you start to form it, it takes its shape. So don't be afraid if you start building scrappy and you're thinking, oh, this looks really bad, actually. It'll form together over time as you continue to develop it.
Yeah, and when we come in here, initially inside the structure, it doesn't look all that fancy or anything. It's not extremely cluttered, but you still have a bunch of different textures for the walls. What we are about to see, though, behind this countertop, it's got to be one of the best cabinets that I've ever seen, if not the best.
I'm a massive fan. You'll see he's taken the half wall glass pane and then brought it down by a quarter and used that as a glass display that acts as, like a sliding glass. And phenomenally done on that.
Yeah, this was amazing. And we're going to get to see it right here. It looks like it has sliding gas or glass cabinetry. Words are hard. Fantastic job, though. And you're about to see here in a second where the budget for the decorating went, because this is a well-stocked shop. If you are out there in the wasteland and you see that many liquor bottles or something like that, or whatever products that they're selling, it's probably going to be a store that you're going to want to be shopping at. The shelves are stocked, and that's where a lot of the decoration budget in here went. But that is one of the best simulated sliding glass cabinetry that I've ever seen, if not the best. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Hopefully he pans back. Do you see that metal on the shelf there? He's done the same thing. That's half metal walls that he's dipped down a little bit to give some more texture to the shelves. And that was just a great job. Great choice. Me personally, I would have maybe used a little bit less bottles to help fill in the rest of the space in the actual building. But I think this was really, really well done. I can't knock off a whole lot on that.
No, this is fantastic. And, we were talking about it behind the scenes that he did have some grass roofs hidden under those other roofs, and it pops up through for immersion. Bubble of Doom is up next. Fantastic treehouse, by the way. I have built in this location and seen many other builds at this location, and it can be really finicky. So sometimes when you're putting the items down on the floor in a lot of pre-existing locations, it'll pop that item up through the roof, and it can be a little bit finicky to try and build on these things.
Right here, you've got some catwalks that are acting as shelves, so he's got those floated up. I thought that was a neat little touch. Just gives it some nice decoration and character to the build too.
Yeah, this is well done. It is very similar to a lot of the other ones that I have seen in this location, and it's because you're kind of limited with the space that you've got and things like that. But it's very well decorated. Another phenomenal job. We've seen a few things from Bubble of Doom, and I mean, none of them have been disappointing by any means.
I got to hand it to you on the lighting too. You've got really nice, consistent lighting throughout the build. I'm not seeing a whole lot of items that are not visible because it's too dark, right? So did a good job. I love that little Mothman over the cake.
The Mothman on the cake, that was really cute. I like that. That was really neat. I love
other items,
little things like that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Other items like that water boiler, it lets off the steam, or you have a fireplace that has movement. That's another thing to consider. Items that create life to the build, that have movement or animation to it, can really enhance the visual experience of the camp.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, we've preached that quite a bit over, not only our time doing the contests and stuff, but even prior to that, is using the animated things or things to create movement. It adds that simulation of, hey, this is a functioning, livable thing. It's a living, breathing thing, not just some digital piece of art.
Absolutely. One thing I will say, I'm not completely sure what the vibe of this was. There's one upstairs area that feels a little bit more raidery, and then this part feels more settlerish. I gotta comment that Snallygaster biting the cage. That's really, really cool. I like that. But there was just a very, very slight inconsistency that I can't quite put my finger on. That just knocked me off a little bit there.
Yeah, I understand what you were saying, and we were talking about this again behind the scenes, pointing that out. And I'm not knocking it or anything like that by any means. But, when you're telling a story, you do want to make it try and feel very cohesive as possible. So you don't generally want a woodsy, scrappy looking room like it belonged in a little wooden shack, and then your next room looks like the enclave. And no, these changes weren't that drastic here, but it just needed just a little tightening up on the consistency. But overall, I mean, it's another beautiful job, and it's hecka inspiring, you know?
Absolutely. And what I'm talking about is microscopic. It's I'm not saying there's a massive difference by any stretch or anything like that. I'm a very meticulous person. You'll see that with my builds, and maybe even to a fault, right? Because there are some people that I like to think of it like cooking. You take toast, you take grilled peaches, you take mozzarella, pesto, and that sounds like it'd be gross altogether, but it makes a really good dish, right? And there are a lot of times where you have these things that don't feel like they should go together, and then all of a sudden it just forms a piece of art at the end.
This is a really cool camp. Fantastic job, Bubble of Doom. I love seeing your builds, and I hope that you keep it up. Um, One of the favorite things I have seen from them that still sticks in my head was using the aquariums with the tree in them. I mean, they had a full-size tree in those things, and man, what a great idea. Now, next up, we have Covert Wookie. This is sleeper build. It's not something that just comes off right away as, oh wow, that's amazing. But you gotta, again, look at the detail of it. And fantastic job filming this. That it has nothing to do with your building aspect or anything, but the filming on this was really, really well done. And it allows us to see all the different aspects of the camp, which, I mean, us as judges, that's what we need to do, you know? This isn't an editing or video course, or, you know, you don't have to be an expert, but when you're trying to present your camps, this is, you know, one of them videos. And Daz Mead, he's another one to check out. You know, follow their lead. They're very good at filming and showing off the camps in ways that we can see them, so we can judge.
Look at that. Yeah, there was a power armor display in there. That's the vault floor piece that he's used. The theme of this is very, very, very consistent and incredibly immersive as well. We didn't include it, but even had a little bit of a backstory about this build. And if I saw this and I didn't see a camp symbol on my map, I had my HUD turned off, I would be debating if this was something that, you know, Bethesda added as a new quest line coming up or something like that, right?
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Cowan, because this is actually much more well decorated than what Bethesda would be doing. That's for sure.
Fair enough.
Well, yeah, you walk up on this, you're like, yeah, this is way too high quality.
I'll give you that.
But, you know, with the consistency and the storytelling aspect, again, though, if you pay attention to the placement of the shrubbery, stuff like that, they have left this a very overgrown area, and they've put those shrubs, the bushes, the little things like that in the right places to make it look like, yeah, it's lived in, but in the corners are going to be grown up, you know?
The build speaks for itself. I just want to point out too, there was a neat little, as far as filming, transition there where he went from third person, and then his next camera shot went into the view of where that person's eyes would have been. So it flowed really consistently between having this third person view and now he's in free cam. And there's really, really good flow going on here.
I love how he stacked these up. So when you look at the trailers and everything, the one was, it's completely off the ground. So there's area where you can walk under it and stuff. It's very well organized. I like the layout. I would totally, I want this as a camp. I mean, I would be proud of this. I love it.
The conduit hanging off with the cage bulb lights there, that's always a nice touch too.
Yeah, the use of conduits, things like that, that help create that immersion is amazing. All right, next up, we've got a very, very special one. I have never heard of this guy, but apparently Dead Guy Crafts. And I'm glad that I've never heard of this person because this was my first exposure to them, and it is not disappointing. What a phenomenal builder to be coming out of the woodwork, you know?
Oh yeah, I've seen Dead Guy Crafts before. I can't remember if it was in some, TNG submissions before or just around the Discord, but the name's definitely familiar, and there's some merit behind that name too. I've seen some great stuff from him.
Yeah, that was a new one for me. You know, it's not like we know everybody in all of the building community. It's a huge freaking community, obviously. Um, but his building style and everything, this is really, really, really well done. He didn't go completely crazy with the decorating and stuff like that, with just completely packing these structures until the very, very end. That last boat, amazing job. It's not completely packed, but he did a good job spreading out his budget. You know, it's not just all in one place, but there is a lot of budget on that boat, and you're going to see why. It's really, really well done.
Well, and this is the battle of multi-zone builds, which actually I think we've had at least 3 multi-zone builds this week. You have to figure out how to fill all of that space as evenly as possible, and he's done a really good job here. One thing that Stitch and I have slight differences to, and it's honestly, it comes down to personal preference. For me, I saw, for example, I think it was 8 icicle lights that are in the back there that did a great job of illuminating that space. I think if you use 6, it would accomplish the same thing, and it'd give you some opportunities to light up a couple places just a little bit more. I'm not saying extensively, because what you're going for here, I can see that you've got the areas that are used are lit up, and you don't necessarily want everything lit up. But for example, here we've got 3 lights dedicated to just a single wooden spool. So it's very, very, very concentrated lighting. I would have liked to see maybe just 5% more disbursement. That, I don't know if that's a word, to be honest. It is now. Disbursement between some different areas.
Yeah, and this is the good thing about having multiple judges, because I disagree with Cowan so much that we got naked and had a fist fight over this conversation. It hit me up if you're interested. It will be on my OnlyFans. I disagree with the lighting thing. I love the lighting. I think it's very well done. It was placed in strategic places that is very, very true to how you would have it in real life if you're lighting that area. And it's just a difference of opinion. But we did naked fight over it, so hit me up.
Do I get commission?
What happened?
Oh, never mind. Dang. No, there's a lot of good textures here involved with the build, though, and I can see that you've got these different walls built into a prefab structure for this boat to expand the cap of it, and that's just really, really cool. A lot of times we think of vehicle builds being, the off-road kind of vehicles, things like that, and he's done something really cool with this boat here too.
Yeah, I really like this. And at this point now, we have seen several of these boats come through. I really love the interior on this one. I think interior wise, this one is my favorite. I really just like the layout. If this was the wasteland and it was real life, that would be like a place that I would love to just hang out and chill. This would be a great home. Very well done.
Oh, this is, yeah, really, really great multi-zone camp. I like this.
And this next build is by LD50. Another phenomenal job by LD. I have become a fan. And if you guys haven't tried this or anything, or you don't know, building a floating camp can be really finicky. You've got to use blueprints to place walls and stuff like that. And they have loosened up some of the building restrictions, but it's still a pain in the arse, okay? This is a fantastic workaround. They kept the ship low to the ground, That way they could keep the staircase on there. That way people could, egress and ingress on the ship itself. And that kept their building aspect much, much easier than having a completely floating camp. So that was a really brilliant idea.
Another nice thing about that is this gives an opportunity for lower level players who don't have marsupial or don't have jetpacks to be able to easily access a camp like this. And at the end of the day, this is what these videos are about. It's inspiring other people to create different builds, to create a better camp than they have their last time, right? And another thing I want to give you credit on, LD, is I've seen you do scrappy camps. You do them really well. I don't know where your comfort zone is, but obviously you're trying out some different styles. And that's something, for me personally, I am very familiar and comfortable with scrappy. And so then I'll try a modern build or I'll try an industrial build. And it pushes me out of my comfort zone to learn new things. It's not going to be anywhere near as impressive as my other camps that I've done that are more scrappy, but I actually learn a lot of techniques that are unique to modern building that I can still apply conceptually to scrappy builds. So this is really cool to see a different theme from you, and you've done a really good job on it.
Yeah, and when you get into the interior, no, it's not overly decorated. It's not packed full of stuff. When you're building things like this is extremely heavy on your budget just from an architectural standpoint because you're trying to create this shape that really doesn't exist out there. So for the building structure, it eats up a lot of your budget. And yeah, you do see some merging in the kitchen area, but the majority of the ship isn't heavily merged or anything. It's just well done.
Absolutely. And merging's not everything. It's just a technique. And at the end of the day, in about a month or two, merging's not going to be the same anymore anyways. So we're going to see a lot of really interesting builds. And on top of that, I mean, we're going to have stuff easily built under the water, into the sky, everything in between. I made an underwater camp, and it's a lot to do technically right now. I'm really looking forward to seeing the sky and the water camps that people create, especially because you'll be able to put things like walls underwater. It's going to be cool.
Look at that shelf and the precision. I love that. That was a master class in shelf merging because there weren't a bunch of floating items. Everything was extremely well organized in that merge. So great job.
Oh yeah, this cockpit's my favorite room. As from a design standpoint, I always love those consoles that have the moving lights. It just creates a lot of texture and life to it as well.
So normally this is the part where I'd be doing some honorable mentions, but I am trying to get off of here as quick as possible because this PC is foobarred. So thank you guys. We had a massive amount of participation. At the end, I am going to roll all the credits with everybody who participated. We had the most entries in here as of to date. So I really appreciate that. And every one of you who didn't make it, you definitely deserve to have your stuff seen. And I really do apologize. I mean, this sucks, guys. I don't like producing, bad content. And you guys definitely deserve the time and effort put into it. But again, man, I've got over 20 hours just trying to produce this. And thank you, Cowan. He's a saint. When we were doing our voiceover, this thing crashed multiple times and we had to just keep restarting and then splicing everything together. So thank you for your patience, my friend. But let's get down to it. So in first place, we have Covert Wookie. Amazing freaking job. In second place, Baker Boy 76. In third, Dead Guy Crafts. Out of the blue, this guy came around, and I am so happy that you joined, man. That was a phenomenal build. I am really happy to see stuff like that. In fourth, we have LD50, and last but definitely not least, we have Bubble of Doom. You guys all did a fantastic job, and I love the hell out of you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be putting this kind of time and effort into doing something like this. It's not like I'm getting paid for it. I do this because I have love for the game and I have passion for it. and that love extends to you guys, the community. So I apologize for the inconvenience. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one. I got to get off of here because this piece of shit keeps black screening. I love you.